Is the Nikon D850 good for concerts? Let's find out. So a question that some people have actually been wondering is the Nikon D850 a good candidate for concert photography? I'd like to say yes. I mean, I've been using this now for a couple of months. I've been to quite a few different concerts now in different situations, completely different lighting as well, and it's gone really well. Just to start off with, I just wanted to say that I am using back button focus. So basically I have my focus on this button here. So you can basically set that into the camera, and it just really makes the job a lot easier. It helps me just to hold the focus in and follow the singer or performer and just wait for the correct shot without having to worry about focusing again. I keep the focus all the time and I take the shot when I need to. And having it like that makes it really easy because you just follow them and you wait for something great to happen, you just take the shots, and it works really well for that. This camera is absolutely great for focusing in the dark, and that is something that's really needed in concert photography. So far already, I have managed to focus on a singer who literally was backlit by some small light bulbs. I had to pump my ISO up to 20,000. I was shooting at f1.8 and 1/100th of a second. It worked really well, and I must say the images are usable. This camera is really good in those kind of situations, but at a bigger concert or something that has a lot more lighting, I tend to shoot around ISO 2500, and it's quite comfortable there. It really does well. It is excellent with its ISO control in this camera. And one great thing about this is the autofocus is the same as in the Nikon D5. And this is extremely fast. It does really well. It is able to focus on somebody's eye pretty much in the dark. It just gets the shot. I've taken so many now where it's been barely any light on the singer and their eye is completely in focus, and it's just amazing. One thing this camera does really well with is overexposure. So there is certain times, obviously in concerts, lights will just completely blow out. The detail that this camera is able to capture allows you to actually bring some of it back, and you're able to recover quite a lot. I have used also the D500 and D810 for concerts. The D500 had some kind of problems with overexposure, at least in highlights. So that was quite hard to fix. You had to kind of bring a lot of your exposures down during those times to be able to avoid that happening. Obviously we're talking about using this camera for concerts. As we all know, the camera is great for pretty much any type of photography. I also use it for portraits and wildlife photography, and a few occasions where I'm taking landscapes, and pretty much in every situation this camera performs really well. So if you're looking for this camera for anything else other than concert photography, you honestly wouldn't be making a mistake with this camera. It works in so many different situations, and I found it to really give great results. But obviously one thing to mention with this being a 47 megapixel camera, The file sizes are really large, but obviously they allow you to compress some of those file sizes by using compressed RAW or uncompressed RAW, which is basically the largest you can get. Obviously it will slow down your computer a little bit, but at the end of the day, I prefer to use the maximum I can get. I want to use as much detail as I possibly can. I just think that's the best way to do it. But obviously if you want speed and you want things to be a little bit smaller, you can obviously lower the size of your images through the camera. But one thing really, even with the full sizes, the camera still performs really well. It still gets to 7 frames per second. I haven't tested it with a battery grip yet. Maybe that will come later, but either way, 7 frames per second has done really well, especially for concerts. And I've caught a couple of shots that I probably wouldn't have. So I'm really happy about that. You will need bigger cards for this. Obviously it has an XQD card slot and an SD card slot. One thing I tend to do is I use my SD slot as my backup. You're gonna need to match your XQD card and the SD card's capacity. Actually right now I'm shooting at 128 gigabytes on the QXD, but I actually only have a 64 in the SD at the moment, but it's been working well. I've been getting up to around 650 photos out of it. So that's pretty much fine. At least I know my images are backed up. But with concerts, sometimes you can tend to shoot over 1,000 shots depending on the concert. So you kind of need to think about that. Compressing your file size might actually be a good idea in those kind of situations. One thing they added, like they've done with the D500, the D750 and a few other cameras, is the flip screen on the back. And this has helped me so much in certain situations in concerts when there's been a lot of people in the way, and I've been able to basically just have the flip screen like that, hold it over the crowd and focus on where I wanted to focus. Obviously I have the back button focus as well, which I was able to use. But one thing to remember is you want to actually have the electronic shutter turned off so that you're using your main shutter because of banding in the images. Not every time, but once I pump up my aperture a little bit higher, the banding comes in really strong. I've even tried turning on the flicker reduction to see if that helps, but it didn't do anything for me. One little trick though is I have my live view in silent photography mode. What I do to be able to use the normal shutter in live view mode and to take photos is I actually flick it into video mode. So basically when I take a photo, electronic shutter will not be working, which is a really quick way to just use your flip out screen for that instead of going through the settings again and trying to turn that off. So just put it onto video mode and take a shot that way. But one little thing I've noticed is when I've used live view mode excessively and had the flip screen out, it does tend to heat up a little bit more, but it's not really bad and it's not something to really worry about. Otherwise, it's performed really well. And one great thing about this camera, and especially in dark scenes, is the fact that they've added lights to the back of the camera. So you're able to see the buttons, and that just is really good, especially in those dark situations and you don't want to be using a flashlight or something or trying to face your camera towards the lights on the stage just to be able to see what you're doing. But the big question really is, are you willing to pay the cost for this camera? Do you think it's worthy enough to use for what kind of photography you're wanting to do? For me, I would say definitely. Obviously I've already paid for it. It's worked excellently for concerts, it's worked really well for my portrait shoots, and it's done really well for wildlife as well. Every concert I've been to pretty much now has gone really well with this camera. This camera's helped me so much. Obviously it helps to know what you're doing as well. I would actually say for the price of the camera, it's actually quite a bargain. What you're getting out of this system is really excellent. In a few cases I have used it for video, it's worked quite well, but obviously the autofocus in video mode pretty much sucks, so I'm not using autofocus anymore in video mode. I'm doing focus manually and it works really well that way. The images are really crisp and clean and it does a really good job in video. If you lower your microphone sound within the camera for concerts and stuff, you will get to record it at a better level. It always helps to put an external microphone on top, but if you can pump that down as much as you can and then record in a concert situation, the sound isn't too bad at all. So all in all guys, I think this camera is an amazing camera for concert photography. If you're in the market for it, honestly, you're not making a bad decision with this. If there's anything I missed out or anything you guys want to know, just leave a comment below and I'll see you guys in the next video.